on, let's look at foreign inflation. You know that if they don't change their interest rates, how it could possibly benefit or harm us, depending on our exchange rate system. And if they raise their interest rates, there's a possibility it's between A and B or above. So some of you ask me, can the interest rate go to directly point B? The answer is yes. But if the interest rate is at B, BP is 0, then your analysis just stops there. There's nothing to discuss. Right? So that's why we want to let the interest rate be above or below point B. Okay? So that was foreign inflation. Now let's look at protectionism. Okay, our case B. So protectionism is an act that government may undertake when trivialized the BP is in a deficit because of a large current account deficit. So we know countries like US, they tend to run a huge deficit. So this results that in the country itself, they were affected. The local firms in US cannot sell. So in this case, they want to restrict imports in their own countries. But if we are the ones selling to them, right, we want to look at how this trade restriction can affect us. So we are not looking at the foreign country. The analysis is still on the local country, the one who is being affected by the protectionism. But for this discussion, we will do upward sloping BP with flexible exchange rate. Alright, so all these assumptions will be stated in the exam question. So let's put in the diagram. Okay, so, and I want to warn you that this analysis is going to be very tricky. Okay, so look at how you draw your diagram. Your country determines your own interest rate, I1, Y1. Your country is at equilibrium at point A. Okay, and you make an assumption that at point A, with the interest rate and income, your BP is 0. So when you draw the BP across, please don't have it on your mind that, oh, the line must intersect. You are trying to say that at the given interest rate and income, at point A, BP is 0. Not just the BP cut through it, it's the size of BP is 0. Okay, and you're doing a flatter BP, reminding you your F is more than your M1. So later, if needed be, you need to shape the account. Okay, now this is not going to be an easy analysis. In fact, every time when the UK examiner comes down to do this analysis, our students get whole shot off their life. They just do not know what happened. Okay, you have to be very clear. You are still at point A. Right? Your income is still Y1. Your interest rate is still I1. But you were told, okay, right, you're actually told that your X bar drops. Right? You were informed that, okay, your contracts to sell to US have a limited amount. You cannot sell as much. So X bar drops. So that actually tells you, therefore, NX is negative. BP is negative at point A. What's the meaning of BP is negative at point A? BP1, therefore, is invalid. You cannot have a BP line cutting through at point A anymore, because the BP is going to be a deficit. Alright, so in this case, the BP has to shift. You're not sure where it shifts yet, okay? You can leave it alone. Okay? Technically, it actually should shift left. Right? One way is to check vertical intersect. NX bar, right, actually drops, vertical intersect increase. But later I will show you how you double check. Okay, so technically, okay, to reflect that point A, you're still at point A. You haven't changed your interest rate and income yet. But your BP is no longer 0. So your BP curve has to shift up, or you can say shift left. And just draw anything on the left. Don't care how many lines it has. And there's nothing for you to mark on the diagram. Don't mark any intersection point. It's not meaningful. You're simply trying to say your BP2, you are still at A. Your BP is a vector. So you can see, right from the start, you shift BP. Not because of exchange rate, but because you are still at A. Your BP is no longer 0. Right? So you have to be very clear. A lot of times students keep memorizing and say, oh, only exchange rate change, then BP shift. That's not correct. Why must you shift the BP? Because it is invalid. When you are on the BP must be 0, but now your BP is a deficit. Okay? How do you know whether your BP shift correctly or not? Okay? You also know that as X bar drops over time, like what we call it, and X is negative. It's not immediate, but over time the IS will also shift left. So you actually can double check. Your BP will shift left, the IS will shift left. Okay, so with that, this is the second curve we're going to shift. Okay, again, don't care about the BP. Yeah, do a reasonable size to shift the IS. There's a lot of lines, huh? But remember, it's always ISLM, so this is your point. So both IS and BP shifted to the left. The BP first shift because, right, the country's BP is no longer 0. Then over time, the IS will shift. Okay, so you reach point B, mark down the income, which has dropped. Okay, and the interest rate that has dropped. Okay, to analyze, now you are at point B. Interest rates drop, net capital change in CA. Income drops, be careful, import drops, but NX falls. Right, look at your step 1. It was very different. Okay, but if you have a very clear concept of what is BP, okay, this is logical. So BP shift up, IS shift up. Reach point B, NX negative, CA negative, NX positive. Okay, then you assign the values because you are doing a flatter BP as is more than M1. So for this account, you assign the 5 million, but it came with a minus. NX positive, you assign the smaller value because M1 is smaller, but with a plus. So the BP is a deficit. Okay, and you know, for BP to be 0, interest rate has to go up. So I skip many steps already. Over time, you are able to tell how to correct the BP. So the main culprit of the BP is capital outflow. So to correct the BP, interest rates must go up. Okay, right? So we are not sure yet, but we know interest rate has to go up. So we are doing flexible exchange rate as given in the assumption. So BP deficit, currency will weaken in nominal and real terms. Okay, right? And in this case, split into 2. And x would be positive. Now, this is what examiner wants to mark. Okay? Exchange rate drop. Okay? Very clear, imports will drop from this. X will go up, but a good exam answer will be highlighting this is limited due to protectionism. Right, a good exam answer will demonstrate to the examiner you know what's happening to the question. You are not ignoring the question. There was protectionism. Foreign countries cannot buy too much from you. So now your currency weakened. It is attractive for them, but they can't buy too much. So that tells you the IS cannot shift too much. Alright, so NX is positive, IS will therefore shift to the right. Okay, so IS will shift right. But you do not know where. But you know cannot be excessive shift at all. Okay, the E goes down, you also know the BP will shift down, equivalent to say the BP will shift right. Okay, one way to double check is to look at where IS shift. They will shift in the same direction. Okay, so go to the diagram. You are at B. IS is going to shift right. BP is going to shift right. So it would be anywhere, right? Okay. I will just mark it up to show you. It will be anywhere here. Okay? Anywhere between the markup area. But you think carefully. You already said X increase is limited. IS will shift right. Then you tell yourself, this portion is invalid. Alright, it cannot go all the way to the right. So in this case, you will know that eventually, you merely just need to say, again, with sufficient increase in I. Okay, right? BP is 0 at point D. So there are two possibilities. Where is your point D? Your point D could be exactly at point A. So that change in income is 0. Or your point D can be between A and B. Then your change in income is negative. So there's two answers, and the examiner's answer is always point A for convenience. But a good exam answer will show both sides of the coin. And therefore, right, the local country suffered or affected, right, by the drop in the X bar. So protectionism in this case is harmful. Alright, okay, so economists that specialize in international trade will bring in this point. Okay, that, right, if US were to restrict trade, right, on China, and if this economy is China, China wants to say, look, your policy is harmful to me. I will shift my curve between A and B. So it could be here, or it could be here. It's up to you. So you can call it D1 or D2. Right? Okay? But the answer, right, is sufficient increase in interest rate. So you cannot go up on anywhere along this bar. It's invalid. So you merely know it's between A to B. If you want to prove that the policy is harmful to you, you will go at D1. Because if you bring D1 down, it's lesser than Y1. But if you want to prove that the policy has no effect on you, you stop at A. Because you started at A, you end at A. Alright, okay? And you don't draw any BP or IS at all. Just leave it and highlight you are at D1 or D2. Alright, depending on what argument you want to put. So protectionism now has a different impact. Right from the start, you shift IS So I say you shift BP, then the IS. Not until exchange rate change. Right, okay? So this has not come up for exam before. It came up most of the time for prelims. And it really scared the hell out of students when the students was wondering why the BP shift. Right, but if you can do that, you can see the analysis will be very robust. And it also shows the examiner you are a thinking student. You are aware. Alright, you don't analyze based on memory work. You are clear. What was the scenario in the question? Currency weakened, but you actually can't sell much. So your IS shift right, but cannot shift too far. Okay, so this is a case where foreign country impose protectionism. But when we discuss protectionism, let's move to the next page. You can change the heading to C. I think I still put the C. But change